amputation, and he's back on the track.
Okay,
we saved his life.
Hey, listen, family, go ahead on and tag, share. Let's get everybody in. We've got an exciting show today.
We got a show today.
I mean,
we got a show today,
we
y'all.
got a show today, so let's get everybody in. We need all 15,000 of our listeners tuned in. So let's go ahead on the tag, share. Let's get everybody into the broadcast on today. So, I mean, you know, it's been a while since you and I have been together on the show.
It's been, you know, life has been
Lifing. Oh
thing, but it's good because the ministry continues through the other folk that we have in the queue. You know, Miss Nikki.
I mean, she's doing an amazing job. And
he called the number. Okay, is it the right number?
Yeah, it's the right number. I'm letting you know we'll be calling you.
Okay.
We'll be calling.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be calling you.
So yeah, so much has been going on, and certainly today is going to be great. So much going on in and around the city.
Yeah, it's a lot going on.
So
it's a lot going on.
So listen, family, go ahead on all of our social media. Go ahead on and go ahead on and tag and share.
We have folks that are streaming live on our live stream.
Oh,
and
there they
they're
are.
also
Yes,
doing that.
there you go.
Hallelujah. They're
Right,
doing this
right,
before
right,
we
right.
go live on the air.
Okay.
Are we live?
Want to say good afternoon and welcome once again to an amazing broadcast. We are here live. Hey, listen, it is definitely homecoming week, and we're going to add a little homecoming flavor to this conversation because this conversation is mixed with some homecoming activities that's going to benefit all of us as a community. So, Constant Chick, how are you today?
I am good. I'm glad that you mentioned homecoming for this week for everybody that cares. You're going to be able to get your steps in. So if you've been doing exercising and you've been doing what you need to do, Pastor Jane, you should get over your 10,000 steps this weekend during all of the homecoming events. And also to everybody that's got parade floats, Google, as of my research yesterday, says that you need to have 10 pounds of candy per 1,000 people that you're throwing it out at the parade.
Wow.
So listen, if you ain't ordered your candy yet through Amazon, you in trouble because it ain't going to get here till Monday.
10 pounds for every 1,000?
According to Amazon, if you're scaling how much candy you need to give out, because shameless plug, my husband, our company, KFR Roofing, will be in the parade this year. We won. Last year, we won, I think, third or second place. I'm not sure which one. But you know, we don't want third or second place. We want first place. Well, but I was trying to make sure we have enough candy. Because you know, if you come around that corner, you ain't got enough candy, people start looking at your side-eye. They're with attitude. Like I woke up this morning for you not to have no more candy. So if you're doing a float and you're in the parade, you need to have at least 10 pounds of candy per 1,000 people in attendance. And estimated attendance last year was anywhere between 12 and 15,000 people.
So this year is going to be even more. And let me say
That's
this. Let me say this before we dive into that. Certainly, you know, one of the things about this show, we have not been having sponsors. Our ministry has been a true supporter. Life Church International family, as their pastor, they have made sure, and I've been on the air well over 17 years. They've made sure that, hey, whenever I get on the air, I'm giving contributions to help me to just have freedom and what I say and do. But I am so grateful for Carlos and Christy Henry. They recognize that, and they are now the main sponsor for the Greg James Community Show. So I want to give, and I shouldn't have let that out yet, but however, they are the main sponsors. So, you know, and the next thing about it is I hadn't had a real job other than church. So my cousin Carlos is telling me I need to show you how to be a roofer. So stay tuned. Not only going to hear me advertising about the company, but I may be coming to your house to check your roof. Isn't that amazing?
Please go live. Please just cut the phone off. Just let everybody see that.
Yeah.
But listen, there's a lot going on this weekend. I think most of it is prayers for our local law enforcement. Prayers for all of the people that are involved, and just prayers that the event will continue in the same spirit that it has in the past, because there's been a lot going on, right? A lot of change is happening. People tend to not like change, but I think that people love the university. They love coming home to FAMU, and I think that everything will be well. That will definitely be my prayer.
Well, I mean, one of the things, I'm excited about all of the events, but I'm really excited about the concert because one of my, they have the sororities and the fraternities, but one of my fraternity brothers is going to be performing. That's Bootsy. And so if y'all see me, don't judge. I'm there with my brother Bootsy, and he's one of the Prison 5 prison members, so I gotta go support him. So I just plug that in just to be plugging it in. Well, listen, let's talk about what's happening today.
Yes,
and
today.
Let's talk about who's joining us on the phone line and who's in the audience.
Well, listen, as you know, there has been a lot of crank up about our local healthcare ecosystem, some of the exciting things that's on the horizon in terms of expansion and moving forward. But I think what our show today is about taking a seat to find out where we are, and really about helping people understand the soul of what our healthcare system is here locally, who is driving it, and what the needs are, and how we as a community can be more proactively engaged as opposed to reactively engaged. Because we tend to take healthcare for granted. We tend to take for granted that if we call 911, an ambulance gonna come pick us up, told us to TMH, right? And then we're gonna get our foot, toe, knee, head, whatever fixed, right? Or at least set so that it can heal. And we take that accessibility for granted. But there's a lot of different layers to it. And today we're going to be talking with the man, one of the many people who are primary leaders in our local health ecosystem. We are so grateful to have Nigel Allen here with us. He is not only the president of Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare's Foundation, he's also for TMH, their chief advancement officer, and that means that his whole job is to advance and move forward the organization based upon the needs of our local health ecosystem. We are so glad to have you here today, Nigel.
It's my pleasure and honor. Thank you.
And we're going to be joined by two of his board members shortly, Mutaki Akbar, who serves on the board of the TMH Foundation, as well as the Honorable Daryl Jones, my boo, who's going to be calling in.
And I think Daryl is on the phone now. Mr. Jones, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Pastor.
Good. So,
hey, brother.
Hey, Daryl.
How's everyone?
Everyone is here.
And accounted for.
Yes, sir.
Certainly, let's take a moment, Darren, to really applaud you for all the work that you do in our community. And we know how important having a voice is at the table, and to serve on the board at TMH has been amazing. To know that you're there, Mataki is there, people that we know from our community, and that's what it's all about. And to understand the plight of some of the health issues that we have in our community, and you're able to speak to those. We are certainly happy to have you serving, and then happy to have you join us today. And I know you stepped out of another meeting because you knew how important this was to the community. So we thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, Reverend, I thank you for the opportunity to join Nigel. As I have often referenced, I have been a member of the TMH family now for more than a decade. And as you know, as you both know, it's important who's in the room.
Yes.
And if people are in the room who aren't afraid to speak up and talk about things that matter to our community. And so as a member of the TMH Board of Trustees with the Foundation for all these years, I'm reminded of one of my heroes, Dr. Bernard Kinsey, who said, it's important to keep the window open and the ladder down. And so once I was invited, I did my part to invite others to join me to be a part of important conversations, particularly as TMH, our local not-for-profit hospital, addresses what we know are apparent healthcare disparities. And so as a part of that, I was honored to invite my sister, Angela Suggs, who was a part of the board of trustees. And then after her, I was dated by Attorney Mutaki Akbar, and now here most recently, Commissioner Nick Madden.
Amazing. And
And so here now, through our collaborative efforts, we wanted to respond to what we know is a real present danger in our community, and that is infant mortality. And so in this space, and in this, and with this platform and having the connections that we have, we want to put, show people, and educate our community about how we all can be involved in remedying this, particularly in a highly educated community like ours.
indeed. And we have with us that have joined us, Brother Daryl, Mutaki Akbar, one of your fellow board members here, and also our co-host for today, and also the host, one of the sponsor and convener of the upcoming fundraiser tomorrow that's in support of the TMH Foundation. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's always glad to be on the Greg James Community Show
Okay.
with Christique Henry.
So listen, I just want to kind of start this off because I think this is a really important conversation. First of all, we discussed earlier in our kind of intro, just kind of how we take healthcare for granted. We know that if we call 911, the ambulance is going to come and pick us up. We know that if our leg is broke, we're going to go somewhere, they're going to put us in traction, we're going to get a cast, we're going to, we it's personal. We know that the system is going to serve us however we get access to it. But I'll direct this question first to you, Nigel. For those who aren't familiar with the work of the Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare Foundation, how does it support the work of TMH directly for families across the Big Bend? Because you don't just serve Leon County, right? People come here from the whole region, right?
Yes.
Talk a little bit about how the work of the foundation supports the work of our health ecosystem.
Well, the foundation, in a lot of ways, is an additional safety net to support the hospital. The TMH, as a not-for-profit, provides an enormous amount of charity care, underwriting costs for people who can't afford their own health care. And I think the estimate is probably about $100 million a year, is what our CFO shared in a recent presentation. But sometimes those funds aren't even enough. The way that the foundation works to support the community is that when needs are presented to us by people within the hospital, the people on the line taking care of children, premature babies, parents, they let us know about needs where they need to try to get additional support very, very quickly. And our intent is to turn around and as quickly as possible provide additional funding so that we can do things like replace cribs that have aged out and are no longer fully safe for premature infants that are staying at the hospital. There are all sorts of needs. We probably get over 1,500 needs presented to us a year. In our last fiscal year that just ended, we provided about $1.6 million in real dollar support to meet, hundreds or more than 1,000 needs that come across our way every day. So in many ways for me, there's you were talking about my title as President and Chief Advancement Officer. That's a better way to say is that I'm both a beggar and an evangelist. I beg as best I can. I try to be an evangelist, and this is for me the best job I've ever had, because at the end of the day, what I get to do is to try to solve problems, healthcare problems that people have in the community. And it is a joyful thing because in many cases, as I shared with you before the show started, I can see how gifts that have come in from the community have immediately gone out to help save lives. And, in fact, a football player who was the FSU football player who is recovering, he was, I don't think people really understood just how ill he was. He had a very high chance of not surviving that injury. Yet we saw the joyful moment when he was kind of taken out of TMH finally and sent to a wonderful rehabilitation center to continue his recovery. What saved his life is a piece of machinery called the ECMO machine, which takes over 95% or more of the heart's function and the lungs function, which allows your body to recover. He was on that. I don't have all the details. I just know I can only talk about it because his father talked about it and thanked the ECMO people. But by being hooked up to that machine, he was able to slowly recover and get to the point where he can go and have additional rehabilitation. And that machine was made possible by the gift of one person who learned about what the machine did, learned that we only had one in the community, and said, I want to help solve that problem with you. And we've had others who have come in, and while 2 years ago we had one of these machines, by the end of this year we expect to have 4, which means that when people come in, we will be able to save those lives. In fact, the same time that patient, football player, was on the machine, there was another young man whose organs had started to fail. He's on the machine for over 2 weeks, and that machine allowed him to have a complete recovery. And the day that he was taken off the machine, he was able to go into our labor and delivery room and watch his wife give birth to their child by cesarean section. That's because of support from the community and the generosity of people here in this community. It's wonderful to see.
Let me ask you this, Taki, because you're a board member, and just hearing what Nigel has just said, very seldom will the community hear the work that is being done.
Right.
Being in the community, knowing the community needs, how important is it for you to be on that board along with Mr. Jones to make sure that not only you see it, you hear it, but to make sure you convey it?
I think it's very important, and that's why Daryl brought me on. I'm starting the second term, so I think I've been on the board for maybe about 6 years, 7 years now. And so a lot of those stories I didn't know myself. And so being there firsthand, hearing those stories and hearing how it's people from the community that almost supplement that money for that hospital care, to understand how important it is. And like these stories about the ECMO machine, that's really where I came up with the idea to, do my own like kind of party with a purpose to benefit the foundation, because it was last year's TMH gala where the focus was on the ECMO machines and the money raised was for the ECMO machines.
Wow.
And hearing those stories made me think at the time that, we need to do something. One, we need to convey this information to the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Daryl being on that board with our influence and with our connection to the Black community, I think, people need to understand, what support of the foundation can do, because it directly affects our community, health-wise. And we need to see how we can, help with that as well, because we benefit just as much as anybody else. So bringing that information to the community to say, hey, this is what the foundation does. First of all, the foundation exists, and I think that's one thing that people need to realize, that there's this foundation that exists. And second, this foundation supplements a lot of the cares, a lot of the needs, simple things that people come to the foundation for. And third, these are ways that you can help. You can take out $5 of your check every month and go to the foundation, and you never know that it could be you that help provide this ECMO machine, or even diapers for a baby, or crib for a baby, or anything like this. So I think it's extremely important.
Wow.
I think it gave me chills.
Yeah.
I honestly,
I felt
when he said that the focus of last year was on this ECMO machine, and then Ethan has this event, very visible public event, and this very thing that you were focusing your efforts to obtain was the very thing to say. That thing gives me straight chills. Straight chills. Talk to me, and Daryl, hey, we can hear you.
But I'd also like to add, it's critically important is that our president of the foundation, Nigel Allen, is also culturally sensitive to what is the diversity found in our community. I know that whenever I have gone to him to support any local event, particularly that supports our people, like Dr. Tawanda Davis and her annual breast cancer seminar, she can count on Nigel and Stephanie Durst-Polsky at the hospital to provide funds to help to underwrite the cost of that activity, so we can share information about healthcare disparities found in our community, and being a valuable partner. I know I can also refer Dr. Temple Robinson and the Bond Community Health Center for their support, also from the foundation for their activities. And so it is through those collaborative conversations, and because people like Kentucky and I, and of course, Nigel, you've got Commissioner Nick Maddox. It is important as we talk about this merger. What does that mean for indigent populations like the ones that he served at Family Promise? That they'll still be able to be provided with quality health care from our local not-for-profit hospital. But we've got to be in the room to make those types of demands to ensure that the full diversity of our community is served by our community hospital. And to Nigel's credit, he has ensured that that has occurred.
That factors right in the spirit, Brother Jones, of the next thought that I had in terms of people think of the foundation only as fundraising, but as you astutely explained, it's more than that, right? Can you talk, because the example with Ethan gives you chills, but there are more examples of this. There are more examples of working in sync with the needs of the community and the hospital itself to have foresight. Can you talk through some of those other real stories that impact patients, families, and like Daryl said, community programs? Because that's so essential when we talk about leadership in our health ecosystem.
Yeah. We work hard to provide support throughout our healthcare system. And in some ways, as you asked that question, I'm starting to scratch my head because of where to begin is what starts. I'll talk about something that we chatted about the other day, and that is within our labor and delivery area and, prematurely born babies. 60% of all mothers who come to TMH to give birth are on Medicaid. So they already, I think, have limited resources to care for themselves in many instances. And we have approximately 440 prematurely born children every year that are cared for at the hospital. Each one of those children on average spends an average of 2 months being cared for at the hospital. And, those are major needs. There's enormous amount of care and resources that need to go into it. And here's just a little part of something where the foundation was able to make a difference when a problem occurred. We have a partnership with FSU. We've had a partnership with FSU in some areas for a very long time. We have a music therapy program that has been one of the leading programs in the nation that has provided a way to help prematurely born children learn how to nurse and feed themselves sooner. Before music therapy, and this was an invention that came from a professor at FSU, and I give credit to that. But before that program was instituted, a majority of NICU babies went home with what's called a G-tube. They were being artificially fed because they had not yet learned how to feed themselves. Using music therapy, they were able to kind of use music as a way to incentivize premature children to suck. It's kind of one of these things, you wait until you see the behavior, then you play music to it, and all of a sudden they want more of the music, so they do it again and again. Now, through nobody's fault, what happened was that there was a decrease in funding of the full-time position we have in our NICU position, where that person was not going to be able to work full-time to provide this care. When we jointly talked about this and learned about it, we realized that the fastest way to solve that problem was for the foundation to go and basically pick up the tab to make sure that that position would remain full-time. That person never went to part-time, and as a result, we continue to be able to provide critically needed care to those NICU babies who are struggling to develop and then, kind of emerge as healthy young children. And the best part about my job, it's not winning a big gift, it's spending a big gift to do things like this. And it's great that the foundation is in a position to say, hey, you need $25,000 to kind of make this whole. We got you, and we're going to get it to you now. That's a miracle for me and for the community to experience.
And for him, he, like he said, he's scratching his head to say which story. And I can say when Nick, Daryl, and I sat down with the foundation with Nigel and his staff, and we said, hey, we have this idea to do this party, and we want TMH Foundation to be the benefactors of it. they had a list of ways of where this money can go directly to, a list of stories. Like one of them was dealing with, the fact that 60% of the moms are on Medicaid. So we look at, they come in and they have the baby, they go home, but we don't look at, the checks that they missed while they were out, like on maternity leave, who's going to buy the shopping, who's going to get the diapers, there's different programs that are out there, but what if they missed that program? And so that's something that we looked at to say, hey, the foundation can step in and supplement some of those things that these moms might not have when they go back home, or these families, not just the mom, the dad who had to take off work to be there with mom, when the baby is born, maybe he needs a gas card or, a shopping card or something. So it doesn't have to be a $25,000 supplement. It could be a $250 gift card that changed these people's lives, or make sure that they're set up once they get home and able to move forward. So it's those stories. We also, we discussed even, cancer patients, people who come in and have chemo done. And we just look at the idea of they're coming in to get chemo, but not that they might have to drive from the rural area. They might have to get a hotel room. And these are people that might not be able to afford a hotel room. And then they have 2 or 3 days of recovery after they get the chemo. So we don't, I guess somebody who doesn't think about what's those next steps or even those previous steps, and that's something that the foundation does. They think ahead, not only think ahead, they listen to the stories.
Yes.
And when they listen to the stories, you got to have that empathy in order to say, okay, how can we fill this gap? And again, like there are tons of stories like that we hear on the board that, like I said, when we sat down, we said, okay, we could create an endowment for this, and this, pick. And the fact that there are so many this, and this, I think is important. But again, that goes back to the first question as far as making sure we can convey that information to the community.
Wow.
So it starts with like one event that we do a fundraiser for, but maybe a church could do a collection and say, hey, we want this money to go here to the foundation, because there are big needs and there are small needs, and I think we need to make sure that none of those needs get overlooked.
Yeah.
I gotta say this for you, Mataki, and for Daryl, and for Nick. I gotta say this because as I listen to you, and as I begin to think about just this weekend, then there's Florida State homecoming, just thinking about the number of people that are going to be going out, that are going to be partying, whatever the case might be. Just imagine at every event, every person just gave $1 for a particular need. Just imagine that. Here you are saying, we're going to have a great time. This is something we do every week, every year, and you do it. This time we see the need for the foundation.
Right.
So we're going to have not just a party, but there's a purpose behind it.
Right.
And to hear that means that we can really help our community if we collectively, and it doesn't have to be a large amount. If there are over 200, probably maybe 20,000 people may be in town this week, maybe more.
Oh, it'll be more than that.
Yeah.
But just imagine. So,
Well,
oh God,
I think it's important to also think through this from the perspective of they know what the needs are.
right.
You have so many people raising money for missions that aren't quantified. You know
No. Yeah.
what the needs are, right?
Yeah.
And you know what the community needs are because TMH does an assessment.
You just finished one.
Just finished a whole community assessment. And that's external getting input in.
Sure.
And then there's internal letting you know what the needs are as it represents incoming outgoing patients.
Right.
I got so much.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Well, can I offer this? I shared a post the other day about why this fundraiser was important.
Yes.
Most of us, right, operating across the expanse of this community, supporting a variety of different charities and the like, were probably blithely unaware that Leon County in Gadsden is one of the top counties in the state for for infant mortality of Black children.
Yes.
But the predisposition for our children to die is 3 times more likely than white children to die across the state of Florida. 3 times. And most of us are unaware of that because who would think that here in the capital city, the 10th smartest city in the country, and yet Black children are dying in disproportionate numbers. So here then was a call to action because one, we had to inform the people.
Okay.
And then when we inform the people, we be in a culture of caring and compassion for ourselves and for our children. The response has been successful. But we had to first make a point, as Mutaki continues to emphasize, of telling and sharing these stories, sharing these data, sharing this metrics, because here in this all-American city, there's something wrong when we leave the state of Florida, right, in infant mortality. And so that's something that it's a call to action, and we've got to continue to find unique ways to support the foundation, but also to support Bond Community Health Center and neighborhood health centers who are providing direct care to these patients and families. And because oftentimes preventative medicine, right, particularly with local providers, they can be receiving services prior to them having just had before the birth of the child. That's a system that our babies are healthy.
Listen, that's all the snaps, and I think that it's important and so you and I both know, and Mutaki and most folks who are following this infant mortality conversation, this became hot issue back in 2011, right? On the community level, based upon community surveying, right? That was the whole premise of the proliferation of the work in the South City community, correct? Because there was a high concentration there in that neighborhood. But what Mr. Jones have said is that it's not just there, it's everywhere, right? So it's not just a centralized problem within a neighborhood. It's a regional issue that needs to be addressed with regional emphasis and regional communication. And so I think the power of this is that it's not coming from just a community survey now. It's coming from the hospital. The hospital is saying, these are the needs. These are the issues we see. And we need y'all to step up and to help us, because this is what day-to-day looks like. Not what a survey, this is what our day-to-day is looking like. 60% of folks that come here are on Medicaid that are experiencing labor and delivery services. They're already working at a deficit in terms of affordability for quality health care. Now we have to make sure that the system they are coming into our system substantiates their health and gives them a quality experience. And we may not get anything from them for that. That's where our foundation comes in. And by the way, we got to take care of the equipment. We got to make sure the beds are good. We got to make sure music is there so they can. This is a lot. This is a whole lot. And Daryl and Mutaki and Nigel, I just want to say this. Where do you see moving forward the intersectionality between health and education when it comes to community health outcomes and the work of the foundation in that space?
When you say education, like educating the community about it, or just
educating the community, education systems like the school district, like the institutions? Where do we begin? And have we begun? And what does that look like? And how can we make those efforts greater?
I think there's been an open conversation about it, like in the education piece. And open conversations about, like you said, like the good and the bad. The good being like we've made advancements in these areas, like by educating and say like these are the advancements that have been made. And even in technology, these are the advancements that have been made in technology in order to like work through and fix these problems. And also education as far as like where the deficits are as well. When we started talking about infant mortality and educating people about infant mortality and what leads to that started bigger conversations as to how we can like actually address those issues. And I go a step further. If we even start talking about gun violence as a public health issue, and how it comes through the hospital and how they see it, And one, you know, those articles that came out, I think it was an article last month, a few months ago, where the emergency room doctors were talking about what they saw when it came down to gun violence, and how they had to treat those patients and what they went through. I think even in that was like an education of, you know, the person doesn't get shot, somebody gets arrested, and that's it. There's more to it. These emergency room doctors are just as traumatized as the families almost by seeing it every day. So that's a form of education and saying, like, I'm looking at kids coming through here with gunshot wounds, hanging on to their lives. Some of them don't survive. Some of them don't care about their lives, you know, like having those conversations as well. I think that intersection of like health and public health issues that we think are like, you know, societal issues or social issues, the intersection have to take place in order for, I think, there to be a you know, direct action to go towards that. And again, it was my own education of like what the foundation does, how they can impact, that pushed me and moved me to like to want to, you know, not just sit on the board, but have like a real impact while being on the board.
You know, I'm a pretty simple thinking guy, and at least I try to make things simple when I look at this job, because it can be overwhelming if you really think through all the challenges. But there are a couple things that try to keep me, that I say to myself to try to stay focused. One is, when it comes to fundraising, the best way that I look at it is that if there isn't a problem to solve, donors have nothing to do, which means it's important for us to tell stories about what those problems are, make them relatable. And I can tell you that at the foundation, we have hired to find great communicators in key positions so that we can do a always better job of telling stories about the care and the needs that exist. Another thing I want to say as kind of a reassurance for folks listening is that the philosophy at TMH is not just to get your money.
Right.
If you're giving to TMH, you're giving through TMH.
That's good.
For those funds to go and to help solve problems. And, you know, we love taking that money and flinging it out where it's needed to be to help higher survival rates and better health outcomes take place.
I think that needs to be restated. You're not just giving to TMH, you're giving through TMH. So this isn't a foundation that's living off of contribution. This is a foundation that's living to get contributions that help enhance and preserve life.
And the foundation has been blessed by the hospital kind of since it was created. A lot of foundations kind of have to earn their own way and pay for their own staff. And what that can mean is that with some not-for-profits, you give them $100 and maybe $70 actually goes to work to solve a problem. They're doing great work, and that's the only way they can do it. But we've been blessed in that all the administrative costs and kind of the cost to keep our organization moving have been made by the hospital. It's their own contribution to the community, so that every time a dollar comes into the foundation, the dollar is there to be spent to help solve the problems that exist.
So, Pastor, yesterday I had the opportunity to listen to the CFO of Tallahassee Memorial Hospital, fine woman by the name of Priscilla Needham, who basically broke it down.
Okay.
And I think that the community needs to understand that our hospital operates at $1 billion budget. A B, not an M, a B. That's for this region and this population that may be upwards of 400,000 people. That doesn't include that. Now that's the capacity to handle the medical needs, in addition to partners like HCA and other folks that help. But TMH has an over $1 billion budget that they are working to shore up. And that's expenses of care, right? That's what it costs to provide health care for this reason. So she's given us an opportunity to give a little insight into the cost of healthcare, which feeds into what you have just said in terms of the essential need to raise funds to help support those expenses, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a cost. When you go, and I was looking at my bill the other day, it was $4,000 for me to go get on the ambulance. It costs. It costs to be able to get adequate, sustainable care from any system, right? But here locally, with our rates of poverty as indicated with the need for supplemental help and programs, I almost feel like y'all need to take this to the streets.
Mhm.
And I think in a sense you are with this
Yeah.
event. So talk a little bit about, not a little bit, talk as you need to talk
Mhm.
about the event that you're hosting, which is, you do something every year.
We do, yeah.
You
So
do.
I appreciate it. Yeah. So this is the 10th
10.
party
Woo!
that we've
Okay.
done, and I say it's not the 10th year because we had I think 2 years off of COVID.
Okay.
So I started probably about 12 years ago in the parking lot of my law office. I just said, hey, we felt like it was an age gap in the parties, like too young and too old. So I was like, I'm gonna fit this niche of somewhere in between.
Uh-huh.
So in the parking lot in my office, we started this homecoming party. And so for 3 years, it was in the parking lot of my office. Then we said, okay, it's too big for my parking lot in Frenchtown. So we moved it to different locations, but over the years. And so with this being the 10th year that we were having it, my 21st year practicing law, I was just like, I need to grow up a little bit. And so the part, I mean, even though the part that we've been doing was, for the more mature, but it was kind of, you can go anywhere and see the same thing in the city. Like
Okay.
you can go to any party during homecoming and see pretty much the format that we have. So I had this wild idea after the last party to say, one, I wanted to make it look different, and two, I want it to be for a purpose. I don't want to just have people buy tickets, come, and we the establishment get all the money, and or we, like it just doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, right,
It doesn't
right,
go
yeah.
anywhere. And why have all these people in the building where we can't figure out a way to educate them on
Right,
something,
right.
or to find some type of beneficiary to benefit from all these people being in the room. And TMH was the first person that was the first organization that came to mind. And I'm on a number of boards, but I can tell you why TMH came to mind. One is, they do a lot of fundraising, and so but there's still a need. Two is, I think, to be able to again educate about what the foundation does, because it's not just about the raising of funds. It's also about educating the community. So what the foundation does and how important TMH is to this community as well, I think was important. So that's when we came up with the foundation, benefiting from it. So I've been on the board, like I said, for about 6 years. So I called Daryl, who brought me on the board, and then I called Nick, who's more recent that's on the board. So I said, hey, I have this crazy idea. What y'all think? And they said, hey, I'm on board. And so instead of just doing like a regular party, we decided to do a casino night. And so it's casino style where we're gonna have blackjack, we're gonna have poker. We couldn't get the craps table up or the roulette table up because the service elevator was broken. But we supplemented with like a big dice game that you can roll. We're going to throw a spades tournament in there just to kind of do something different. We're going to have like scratch off tickets and different ways that you can win raffle tickets. And so what happens is you'll use like funny money to buy chips. You can play with those chips on the tables, and then you'll trade those chips in for a raffle ticket. So the more you win, the more chance that you can win, the more raffle tickets you can get. And so the raffle tickets, it ranges from a dinner for two at Zan's, the Indian cuisine on Norfolk Road, one of my favorite restaurants. A gift certificate, $100 gift certificate to Joe Ellen, so that's a full dinner.
Nice.
We got a whitening kit from Mahan Dental that's coming. We got a consultation with Royal Juvenation with Dr. Cole as well. We have a consultation with Coleman Law and a free estate plan to be done by Coleman Law.
Nice.
So you can get your will, trust, everything done. Whistle Pig whiskey, they're it's $100 retail, so we're working that into the raffle to win that as well. And it's a lot more.
Let me just say,
more.
whoever wins that Whistle Pig raffle, I'm going to put 2 front row seats at church for them.
Okay. But I've said
But that's right.
all those because these are people from the community that said, I like what you all doing, I'm gonna donate to this.
Yes.
So you can play and have fun and actually like walk away with something
Yeah.
at the end as well. So we're really looking forward to it. It's at level 8, Hotel Duval. We got the entire floor. Hotel Duval is donating a 1-night stay, dinner for 2 at Shula's, free breakfast.
Nice.
4 Point Sheraton is a 2-night stay. We got an Airbnb for a weekend that we're giving away. So there's tons of things that people can win. While
So the whole
doing
floor.
got the whole floor inside and outside.
Wow. You know, first of all, I gotta say this because you like you just said, you know, hey, we've been doing homecoming events for the last 10 years, but this year you wanted to do something that was more meaningful, more significant, and to hear. I think what really has me stuck, Christique, and you got to go back to hear the importance of having this machine that you knew we needed.
Right.
And here's the Florida State football player
We need it.
who needed it,
Mhm.
and you all had it available to save his life. I think that goes to vision, and I think here you are now, Mataki, it goes to vision, and I think it says something to our community. It says something to those who are able to assemble large crowds. Don't just assemble just to be assembling,
Right.
but let's assemble so that we can advance something that's going to benefit us as a community.
Right.
And once we do it, we'll begin to see how important it is for us to help each other as there are entities such as the foundation, such as TMH, that are there to provide the kind of care that we need. To hear the number 60% of most of all the mothers that come in are on Medicaid. Medicare.
60%.
60%.
60%.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen if
So that's my next thought and question, quite frankly, because we're talking about vision.
Wait, hold on.
Right.
Somebody on Facebook said, yes,
Okay.
I can't wait. What, you can't wait for the party or to give? Shirley says, sounds like fun. Is Shirley Pittman on the way?
Oh, Auntie coming.
Okay, all right.
Hey,
They
Auntie.
still taking donations.
They still taking donations.
Okay, so
How
let's
can-
talk
let's
about
talk
that.
about that.
Yeah, talk about that.
How can people give?
Okay.
Who can't come to the
Who can't
casino
come?
night? Yeah.
If you cannot come, you can contact our office.
Okay.
850-383-0000.
Wait, say that slow. Somebody put this in a thread. The number to contact is what?
850
850
383
383
0000.
000.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what we're doing with all the donations that come in, we're having people write checks directly to the TMH Foundation.
Okay,
And
yes.
so we're collecting them, and then that money is going to go straight to the endowment dealing with Black maternal health,
Mhm.
and supplementing Black maternal health, or maternal health. In general.
Maternal health,
So we
yeah.
can't do that stuff.
Mhm. Well, we can, just in broad, yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
And they can also contact the foundation directly and say, hey, I want to make a donation as a part of the Bet on Us casino night. And Nigel can get that.
Wow.
Sure.
y'all are giving like true partnership.
Right,
It
yeah,
sounds
absolutely.
to me, because the energy excitement from here, I mean, you could tell that this is rooted in a real partnership, right? Between a community leader and this organization.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the next 3 to 5 years, given the climate that we're in,
Mhm.
given some of the things policy-wise that we may have to encounter. Talk about the next.
Well, let me say this.
I forgot.
We realize here, most regrettably, that those organizations like TMH, TMH and its foundation, and Bond Community Health Care, and Neighborhood Medical, right, who have been the safety net for working class and indigent people, that safety net, the holes in the safety net, regrettably have gotten larger. Which means that more of our children and more of our families will be slipping through the net. That is why it is important that the sustaining program, like what we're describing, are so critically important, so that fewer children and fewer families are less affected by a political system that seems all bent on alienating, ostracizing, demeaning, and diminishing the quality of life of working class and low income people. And so that's why a program like the activity like we're having, we're now as a community saying that supporting quality healthcare for all people isn't just a fad, but it's a community value.
That's what you're saying, and that's why I asked in the next 3 to 5 years.
Mhm.
You know, what does this look like in terms of the opportunity for community through events like this that are trailblazing events to say, hey, we got to bet on us.
Right.
You're betting on us. We're betting on ourselves. What does that look like?
Our community right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you and I and others started this conversation about Title I students, right?
Mm-hmm.
We remember those schools when they were all F and D's, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people had to be explained and educated on what it was to be a Title I student, right?
Yes.
And they found that not only did you have Title I students, but you had Title I students for all students. We've been able to turn the corner, why? Because we've done our part and made it a community value to support those
Yes.
schools. And that's why those schools are A's, B's, and C's. Well, now we now take that same methodology of people crying out, and organize themselves to respond to just remedying the crisis in Title I schools. We can now remedy the crisis out in healthcare because here now, with this successful model of bet on us, there will be other organizations, whether it's lodges, whether it's Greek letter organizations, temples, and other organizations in our own community who will now see this as an opportunity for them to change the quality of life of folks who look like them or who may be low income and working class.
Wow. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Let me say this, and Nigel, what does today being here, hearing, she's normally the conscience chick, so she ain't really shake too many consciences today. But what does this day do when you're knowing that there are over 10,000 people who are listening to us today,
Yeah.
hearing about the work of the foundation? What does this do for you as you represent the board?
For me personally, it's like sitting in church and hearing a great sermon about what I need to continue doing and what I need to do more of. I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity not just to participate, but to hear and to kind of be reminded of the important work that TMH can do to serve every single person in our community. And there's lots of work to be done the next 3 to 5 years. I don't want to get into some of the stuff that you may be referring to,
Right.
but the next 3 to 5 years, I think, are going to be very, very telling and very important for our community. But I will tell you that I am optimistic that we can do this the right way, where the community is going to have even better health care and better access to the care that they need for even more kinds of illnesses than we can provide for today. That's my dream, and I think that's what our community's dream is.
I like to say, like, the climate that we're in now is an opportunity.
Come on now.
And it's an opportunity for us to fill in the gap. It's an opportunity for us, when I say us, like the community as a whole, to not be so dependent on government or what we're waiting on other things to happen for us, that we can, I guess we can go back to the tagline, we can bet on ourselves, we can bet on us to fill in those gaps. So I think this is an opportunity to say, like Darryl said, I love that he used the Title I schools as an example, because no one would ever think it, that Title I schools will be at the tip of everybody's tongue. 3 to 5 years ago, well, I guess 7 to 8 years ago, before Darryl got in that seat, nobody would have ever said in 8 years we will be talking about Title I schools at the forefront of the conversation. And not only that, they would go from F to A schools, right, because of the commitment of the community. And so it should be the same thing for everything that impacts our community in a major way. And healthcare is at the top of that.
Yes.
Crime is at the top of that. Public health, like all of those things. So when we take them on, I think this gives us an opportunity, not wait for somebody else to take it on, that we take this opportunity to take it on ourselves.
Wow.
This is critically important as a community influencer. As Bart Thomas moved from rhetoric to work.
Yes.
And if you want to know a person's values, look at their checkbook. So look at his. Look at Brandon Thomas's. And then they enlisted other folks to join them, to be a part of that conversation. Boy, getting from residents to work is essentially important if we're gonna solve this healthcare disparity.
I think what I'm asking for is exactly what you just said. I need a blueprint. I know what the ecosystem is. I know who the players are. We know who the access points are, from bond to neighborhood to even care point to TMH, even throwing the HCA, right? But we need a blueprint. We need to understand what it is we have and what it is we need. And the great thing that you all have communicated today is that you got a list. You know what is needed. You're not stabbing in the dark. You know what is needed based upon your day-to-day engagement with the system. And I think that this conversation and more conversations need to be had, because we play with it. But we're in a government shutdown and folks ain't getting paid and other stuff ain't getting paid. But people still getting sick. People still having babies. People still breaking their ankles, right? So you're right. We have to bet on us, but us need to know
what it is. And that's one thing. And I know you all have talked about the merger also. And, you know, one of the conversations that I had recently with another organization was that it's not enough to go to the meeting and say, don't do it.
Yeah.
And it's not enough to go to the meeting and say, do it. What we need to be able to do is go to the meeting and say, I don't care which way it goes. But whichever way it goes, these are the things that I need to see for my community. You know, and we need to know what the things are in order to be able to say these are the things. And I think we have a starting point. I think there's a lot of starting points that we could go with. But, you know, to just go and say don't do it or do it, I think you can start there. But if you do, you know, because we're saying, some people are saying don't because of specific concerns. Some people are saying do it because of specific concerns. But we don't want to lose on either one of those. We want to make sure that all of those things remain, especially when it comes down to the things that impact the most vulnerable people in the community.
And, you know, I think, and I'm going to say this, I think that this conversation, Christy, is so important. And the reason why it's so important is because a lot of times we are unaware. And because we're unaware, we cannot have the inspiration or the motivation to try to make a difference.
Right.
So we cannot allow this conversation to end. I mean, I know Darren knows the importance of touring. I mean, he toured every Title I school to get people in the community to rally behind supporting the principal, the staff. We got to start touring these communities with this message, because things are not going to get better. So we got to bet on us. I like that. I maybe preach that Sunday. Bet on us. And a lot of times we cannot. We have to empower those who are at the table. We've got to be able to encourage them to keep making their voice heard for us while they're there, so that they can keep informing us. So today was just amazing. I'm in awe. I'm in awe because, one, I learned something that has been life-changing. If you all had not had that machine for that young man, he probably would not be here.
They just raised money for
for
more machines. Because the part that I think we need to make clear is only one person can use that machine at a time.
Oh, really?
So if another person needed that machine, I mean, it's more than one now, but if it was only one.
It's more than one machine.
It's more than one machine now, but for quite some time, it was only one machine. So if one person is using it and somebody else comes in and need it, they either have to pull it from the person that's on it, or the other person just is out of luck, you know.
That's one of the great things about the message, and it's a quick story.
Yeah.
We showed a powerful video where a father talked about his son who accidentally drowned in a swimming pool. By the time they pulled him out, he was pretty much gone, and they got him in. The doctor even said, you know, I can't guarantee you a miracle, but I've seen miracles happen on this machine. And his son was on there for a day and a half, and he made a full recovery. But the thing that he said at the end that I think touched so many people, he says, it's 3 years later, and the thing that haunts me every single day is, what would have happened if I brought my son in and somebody else was on that machine? And you know, as a result of saying that to the audience in the video, one person came up to me after that. He said, how much does the machine cost? I'm going to buy it for you.
Mhm.
And one of those machines that we got was because somebody saw the need to have additional access to that kind of healthcare so that another child would be able to live instead of die.
So I don't know who that donor was, but that machine was available for Ethan
Mhm.
when he got there.
That's right.
So we want to thank God for him, and we want to challenge our community. Hey, let's get involved. Let's bet on us. With the last few minutes that we have left,
I want to give the last few minutes to Mutaki. You tell us about tomorrow, but also tell us about moving forward.
Yeah.
Because, baby, Coach, I'm in.
Mhm.
Y'all tell us about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Give us our call to action moving forward.
Well, like I said, tomorrow night is at Hotel Duval. We still have some tickets. You can call the office 850-383-0000. And if you can't make it, you can call if you want to give a donation directly to the foundation for that. And again, it's to benefit the foundation, specifically to go to like maternal health, in the community. For the foundation is going to create an endowment specific to that. So it's another to the foundation, but it's through the foundation to get directly to moms who will need that help. Moving forward, we will continue, to educate based off of what we learned in our positions on the board. But I think, Pastor Greg is right as far as going on a tour and educating the community about why these conversations about TMH, about a merger, why is it so important for us to be a part of that conversation? So we can make sure that we don't, that nothing is lost in that transaction, if there is a transaction.
Those bridges and pathways, or TMH, going to the community.
Yes. Okay. Any call to actions, Nigel, that you would have, and Daryl as well, before we sign off?
TMH is committed to providing the best possible care to every single person in the community. And if you believe in our ability to meet that commitment, please know that a gift to TMH and to the TMH Foundation will be used and will go directly towards providing, continued best quality health care.
wonderful. Any closing
Well,
remarks?
for me, it's most simple. I salute Wataki, Akbar, and Brandy Thomas, Akbar Thomas. I'm truly doing this thing leadership as a community trustee. And by this, if I represent that I am the person that we are focused in our community, I will follow in their to ensure that people and power and equipped to educate our community on how we would create this healthcare experience and provide for the least.
Wow, that's powerful. Any closing words? Well, listen, it's been an amazing show, and I've got an opportunity to go to 2 events without no judgment. I got an opportunity to go see Bootsy because he's a returning citizen, and now I got an opportunity to come to bet on us because y'all supporting the foundation. Hey, listen. Hey, listen, have an amazing week. Enjoy the festivities. Be safe. And remember, don't forget tomorrow night, hey, if you can't make it, call the office, make a contribution. Let's do something great while we got a chance. All right. In the meantime, let's go and enjoy the weekend.
Thank you all for being here.
So, is that Bootsy and Bootsy Collins?
No.
Oh, okay.
Without the C. BOS.
I couldn't say.
My brother.
Hey.
I'm a mess. That's all I'm gonna say. A mess. Listen, this